Hey gorgeous soul, I'm Zoe and welcome to the Oasis State podcast, a space where we decode life's mysteries and embrace the what the fuck moments that make it magical. Let this podcast be your trusted companion on your wild journey of transformation, healing and soul expansion. Together, we'll dive deep, celebrate our technicolor existence and turn life's chaos into pure magic. Hey party people, welcome back. Alrighty, this episode is about just me sharing some tips to help you regulate your nervous system when you are navigating change. Because if you are in a current season of chaos and, looking uncertainty in the eye, or you're feeling like you want to make a change, you're feeling that itch a little bit, I'm sure I don't need to give you a disclaimer about how bloody uncomfortable it is. And it's just so important to be double, triple, quadrupling down on our nervous system regulation. And because I've mentioned this a lot on my podcast episodes, but I really want to drill it into us that we have this mind-body connection. And when we're in, a season, like a half-life, or we feel like we're settling, or life has been handed to us, you're just sort of accepting the life that's sort of been laid out for you. Our mind, which is just a computer program, creates patterns and creates a sense of certainty through, okay, she wakes up at this time and she comes home to this person, she eats this meal, etc. And then that can create some sense of nervous system regulation, but there's so many layers to it of like, but are you, getting excessive dopamine hits from Instagram scrolling and all of that sort of stuff. So there's a certain level of predictability that happens when you're in your comfort zone. And then when we go into, we cut the cord, we might make a decision, or maybe the change unexpectedly happens, like you lose your job or relationship ends. We go into this dysregulated nervous system state because our mind and our body, our mind-body connection, is trying to process what is happening. And your mind is just doing its job. It's just a computer program that is just trying to predict patterns, predict the algorithm of your life. And then you've thrown a grenade into your life and there's no predictability anymore. So your mind is ruminating and just doing its job, and it's looking into the future and it's looking into the past for answers. And that's just not the way the cookie crumbles anymore. When you're in this beautiful transition, we need to be aware of the messages that our mind and our body might be sending that we're not safe, because it's not actually the case. It's sort of like a restructure, basically. Being in the unknown and being in, facing uncertainty is an invitation to restructure who's in the driver's seat. So I'm sure you've realized with the ruminating thoughts and you're projecting into the future and looking into the past, like, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? And even when you're looking at life through that lens of what's wrong and what's right, that is an indication that you are identifying with your mind and identifying with your ego. We can pretty much realize, like pretty early on in the uncertainty journey, that the mind and our egos are not qualified for this position right now. Absolutely not qualified. So it's because of its lack of qualification, and it's not there's anything wrong with the mind. We want to thank the mind for doing its job. It's just in the wrong role. It's like you've got an elephant and you try asking it to climb a tree. Of course it's going to fail, but elephants are beautiful and majestic and powerful and capable in their own right. So it's not about rejecting our mind. We're just going to get way further down, the dysregulated, misaligned state if we're rejecting our mind. But seasons of chaos in our life and that disturbance that comes along is an invitation to, restructure. So thanks the mind. Okay, I know you're trying to keep me safe, but right now, having that clarity is not what needs to happen. We need to be regulating our nervous system. We need to be coming back to the present moment and feeling into our heart. We need to be seated in our heart through the present moment and trusting in the guidance of our soul. But when you have the mind as the instructor and trying to take the lead, you will never, it'll be so hard to hear those little whispers from your soul, which can come through intuitive hits and feelings and everything. So how do we restructure this? We regulate our nervous systems. So we've got the, I don't want to say underqualified, but just the mind is not totally qualified for this role. It actually never is, to be honest. It actually never is qualified to be in the driver's seat of your life, but it's lack of capabilities are so much stronger and more potent when we're in a season of chaos. So that's the point I'm trying to make. But sorry, I lost my thought. So basically the reason a little segue, the reason I'm recording this episode is because I woke up in such a dysregulated state today, and it's a lifelong journey, you know, and I'm so grateful for what I've learned in these seasons of chaos, because it's now equipped me with the tools and the awareness and the self-love and the ability to be soft with myself when I wake up dysregulated. So the reason I've woken up dysregulated is because I announced a upcoming course that I will be launching very, very soon. And it's actually to do with everything I'm talking about right now. Like I said, feel like I have just done the song and dance of the death and rebirth energy. I've gone through so many seasons of chaos in my life, and I'm someone that's just very committed to their evolution. So that comes hand in hand. And I just came to this point where I'm very luckily in a season of peace right now. And it doesn't mean I'm not evolving and changing. I literally had the experience of it this morning because I'm an entrepreneur. So basically you are just committing to being out of your comfort zone and sticking out your neck 24/7. But having the freedom to evolve is a huge, like, true north of mine and a huge value of mine. So that's why I'm in entrepreneurship. Oh, sorry. My landlord's making some noise, but I think I might keep recording if that's okay. And yeah, one day I'll have a professional studio and the sound quality and everything will be better, but for now I just have to get this stuff out here. Anyway, I'm getting very off track, but I hope you're enjoying the journey. Yeah, so basically I wanted to come on here and record this episode today because I woke up in a dysregulated state because I announced this course, and I was very proud of myself when I announced it. And it just honestly felt like any other announcement. I've had other offerings out there in my business before. I've had other courses launched. And then I woke up today and was just a deer in headlights. I felt like the biggest imposter. I had so much fear just raking through my body. And I was like, what is happening? But basically this course is just so much closer to my heart, and it's how I've experienced life for the last few years, and I've been able to share what I experienced and the wisdom that I've gained, and just everything. Basically this course will be everything that these past versions of me needed. And I'm gifting them back to her. And then anyone else that can see a mirror of their experience in my own, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think there was reasons why I woke up dysregulated, because I was like, oh, it's just any old launch. But no, this one is so much closer to my heart. It's so much more important to me. And it's also because of that, I realized it's one that I'm so much more intentional about, and I've put so much, there's actually a strategy and structure. And in the previous episode on this podcast, I was talking about when you're navigating the unknown, it helps you recalibrate your masculine and feminine. And I think I want to do like a whole actual episode going deep into that, because that was sort of just like a channel that came through the other day. But yeah, so this course launch has been a lot more strategic. It's been from a very aligned place, and that's because I've come into this healthy masculine through the complete surrender of tapping into my feminine through chaos. So you can listen to that podcast episode, and I'll actually do another one on it where we can dive really, really deep into the dynamics of masculine and feminine energy and how they are being invited to be recalibrated with and identified with and embodied through the chaos journey. So stay tuned. Yeah, so basically I've launched this course. I suppose this is a good time to do a little plug. There is a waitlist. So if you are interested in what I've been talking about, the waitlist link or whatever will be in the show notes of this podcast or any of my social media platforms, and just jump on the waitlist so you can get up to date with or stay up to date with this course and the launching and the information of it. And then there'll also be like discounts and access to extra resources if you're on the wait list. So yeah, this course is really just moving through me. It's a really beautiful experience. But because of that, I woke up this morning completely dysregulated, and it was because I have leveled up. I have I had all of these blocks leading up to creating the course. And, there's one day I was trying to record things and it was actually a joke how much noise is going on. Like someone would be mowing and I'm like, that's fine, I'll wait. And then as soon as the mower would stop, like a power tool would, make a noise. And I was just like, what is going on? And then I've had all these technical issues as well over the last few days, and I just did it anyway. I just put this course out there anyway, like as in the announcement for the course. And I just realized upon reflection that was a lot of testing from the universe of like, all right, you ready to level up? Do you really want this? Do you really, really want this? Because we're going to show you all these little like little roadblocks and little tests along the way. And yeah, I woke up this morning and just the full effect of all of that was impacting me. So I wanted to jump on here and share tips about regulating your nervous system. Before I get into that, it was actually really interesting. I had to observe how I was actually resisting regulating my nervous system, to be completely honest with you. And it was so interesting. I haven't had that block for a while, but I think when we get into these patterns and, I was like, I feel like an imposter. I need to make more money. I'm being irresponsible. Like just all of this weird dialogue going on in my head. I was resisting regulating my nervous system because I think when we get into these ruminating states of dysregulation, we feel like we need to take action. We need to like, okay, I need to dig myself out of this. And I was telling myself that that I didn't have time to regulate my nervous system. I was like, no. I was trying to record a meditation this morning and I just couldn't do it. I was just all over the shop. And when I finally softened and realized how stupid it is to not be regulating my nervous system, which is really interesting to have that block. So I wanted to mention it because I think a lot of us that are in this dysregulated state, which is basically your body letting you know that it doesn't feel safe, but that's fine. It's an opportunity to teach your body that it can trust you, But yeah, it was a really, really interesting block. So when I could finally put the tools down, and I did a few things first to try and regulate my nervous system, which I think is another important point to make because we don't always get it right straight away. But that's why I want to share a few tips, because every time you're dysregulated, it is probably going to be a different thing that brings you back into that state, So I took my dog for a walk and then it started raining, so I didn't really get into that full flow. And then I messaged a few people that are my nearest and dearest and just let them know like, hey, I need you, And as a recovering hyper-independent person, that is also quite uncomfortable, but I didn't want to. I think when we're feeling dysregulated and we're feeling scared on the uncertainty journey, we can isolate. If you're a hyper-independent person, if you have that dialogue about feeling too much, we can pull away. And that's not going to create any sense of safety. There's no validity to that thought process. And I was literally in tears as I was messaging these people. I was like, oh my fucking God, they're going to hate me. What's going to go on? Blah, blah, blah. But I'm moving through that, like I'm deconditioning from that because I'm so exhausted from being hyper independent. It is actually one thing that you get taught on the chaos journey is that you can't do it alone. We're not wired to do it alone, So I lean into the discomfort every time I feel weak or confused by needing someone, and I'll contact them anyway. And that's a really beautiful way to regulate your nervous system because even by messaging them, you're like, oh, I don't have all of this weight on my shoulders anymore. So I suppose actually that's segueing into the first tip for regulating your nervous system is reaching out to people, safe people, people that can help you. And if you don't have people around you like that right now, then get really focused on your osmosis and listen to some high vibrational content or something really soothing, like a meditation or, Abraham Hicks, she's always she's a vibe. Like she's always there, like, you got this, babe. And just little things you can sort of be filtering into your mind. But be mindful of not getting too involved in feeding your mind the information because it's not your mind that is dysregulated. Yes, it might have dysregulated thoughts, but that is a symptom of your dysregulated nervous system. And your nervous system exists in your body. So I feel like there are a few starting points. So contacting people and then just letting them come, reply and support you, etc. When the time comes, you know what I mean? Like, don't expect them to reply in 1 minute, but just be like, feel that relief and that sense of connection and support and even pride. If you relate to being a recovering hyper independent person, be so proud of yourself that you were vulnerable enough to open up and say, I need help, to somebody. That's a really, really beautiful thing and very, very important on your nervous system regulation journey. So that was the first thing I did. And like I said, if you don't do that, maybe just try and find some high vibrational content, whether, like I said, it's a guided meditation or some music, just to sort of like help you lift up, but also be mindful that we're not just feeding our mind with everything, because the nervous system part is happening in our body. So some other things that we can do to regulate our nervous system during times of uncertainty is to get out in nature. I have this beautiful patch of bush land right behind my property, and I'm here on the Gold Coast, but we have like these beautiful little patches. So I'm like a minute from the beach, but I just, I just feel very, very connected to this piece of bushland behind me. And I went out there and just connected to nature. I was literally sitting at the base of a gum tree, leaning back on it, feeling the sturdiness of the tree and taking deep breaths. And I almost got into a panic state, and then I realized that I was sort of hyperventilating with my breath. They were very shallow breaths, which is a surefire way to show your body, or to teach your body, that it's in a sympathetic state, which is your fight or flight, why you are dysregulated. So when I realized, okay, shit, I'm, winding myself up through my breaths and I was crying, I came back to deep breaths. So in through my nose, really focusing on my belly. And if deep breaths feel really foreign to you, just bring your awareness to your stomach. Like in any moment right now, I could say, focus on your elbow and your attention will go there. Focus on your knee. Your attention will go there. So when you are needing to regulate, your breath is the surefire way to get back to that. So even if deep belly breaths are not familiar to you, just bringing your awareness to your stomach while you're taking a breath through your nose will be a surefire way to switch from your sympathetic nervous system back into your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. It's how you get regulated. It's how you're teaching your body to feel safe. It's how you're building that trusting relationship with your body. That's like, when you get in a dysregulated nervous state, which happens when you're navigating change, even positive one like I'm going through with my business evolution, it's okay to get dysregulated, but you need to be relying on those tools, these tips that I'm mentioning in this episode, again and again and again, to come back to that state where you're like, basically sending a message to your body, I've got you. I've got you. It's all good. There's nothing wrong. It's all good. We are just recalibrating. We're on a new level of expansion, a new level of evolution. We're meeting new parts of ourselves, whether that you're navigating those parts of yourself through this season of chaos and there's not much to know about your direction right now, or navigating the evolution that I'm going through with expanding and stepping into a greater leadership role in my business. Like, it's not about the source of the dysregulation, but when it happens, you need to get into the driver's seat and do something about it, basically. So yeah, like I said, reaching out to people that feel supportive, doing a little bit of osmosis with high vibing content, or a guided meditation. But I really want to press that point of like, we're not feeding just our mind in this regulation process, because sometimes doing a guided meditation or meditation at all can be the worst thing for our nervous system, because we actually need to move. We need somatic practices to move the stress and the buildup and the overwhelm. So I'm mentioning these tips, and you need to try them and get in tune with your body and what it needs to regulate. And like I mentioned, I honestly feel like every time I need to regulate, there's a different dominant practice that helps me get back there. But I have that trust and that trust in myself and enough tools available to me now that I can try a few of them on for size and then be like, oh no, that one doesn't work. Oh, this one doesn't work. Like today, I tried to listen to some podcast episodes and it just overwhelmed me. And I was like, okay, cool. That's not what I need right now. So as I mentioned, I went out to the bush, which is literally just the back of my house. But we've got beautiful gum trees, and it's just like beautiful canopy cover, and oh, it's just gorgeous. So yeah, it's you have to be soft with yourself, and you have to trust yourself that, okay, when you try one thing, it doesn't mean that it's not working. You need to stay in that frequency of being committed to finding that regulation. And how do you know that you're regulated? You just feel better. You feel aligned, you feel back in your body, the ruminating thoughts sort of soften, you feel in the present moment again, and it's just going to feel good, And it's like, even if you're in such a dysregulated state and you're just at the start of your regulation journey, once you can remind your body and teach your body what that regulated feeling feels like, then you need to hold on to that, and then you will go back into a dysregulated state. But it's like, it's teaching, it's back and forth again and again, just teaching your body that I've got you, boo. I don't know how, like, we are dysregulated and we're going to get you back. And sometimes I know how, sometimes it'll, the answer will be a little bit further away, but I'm going to try everything I can. So yeah, nature is really beautiful as well, because it just is, it's gorgeous. So there's a lot of fresh air, which really helps us. And if we're taking those deep breaths while we're outdoors, double points for that. And then we're getting some sunshine, hopefully I'm getting some sunshine, which is great for the vitamin D. And it just increases this feeling of calm and clarity. And like I said, I was just leaning against a tree today, which is obviously very sturdy and has strong roots, and just leaning back, letting that nature and the sunlight that was coming through support serotonin production, which is like the happy hormones. And I could feel it boosting my mood. And then the boosted mood and the serotonin transferred over to building resilience, because I was like, okay, all right, I'm dysregulated. And then when it literally was instant, as soon as I could come back to this regulated state, I was like, I'm that bitch, let's go. And now I'm sitting here recording this podcast. Like, I've literally transmuted my pain into power, like, straight away. So that's when you're getting familiar with this nervous system regulation journey, like it's your full-time fucking job, you can shift really, really easily. So that's why it's important to commit to it and be, really consistent with it. Some other practices that can help you with nervous system regulation is walking barefoot while you're outside as well. If you have sensitive feet, then, go and walk on some sand or it doesn't have to actually, I'm going to go back. It doesn't even have to be walking. If you just go and lay your feet on some bare grass and just focus on some breathing, all of the good juju from the breathing and from being out in nature will ground you. If you're not resonating with the things that I said about, feeding your mind the content that it needs right now, you might be leaning more towards physical movement. So even if it's just jumping on a yoga mat and just intuitively stretching, it doesn't have to be a sequence, it doesn't have to be Instagrammable and perfect, but if you're just lying there feeling into your body and releasing any tension or tightness, just intuitively, like, oh, it feels really good to put my hip over, my leg over my hip like this or whatever. That doesn't even make sense, but you know what I mean, just intuitively stretch. Shaking and jumping, so just like a light bounce and shaking your hands while taking some deep breaths is a very strong and effective somatic practice to shift the density, and the dysregulation. I've also started navigating EFT tapping, which is emotional freedom technique, and it's basically like affirmations on steroids, because when you're trying to affirm things like I am safe and I am supported, etc., that's feeding your intellectual mind, but we're not sending it doesn't filter through to our body to let it know it's safe. So this emotional freedom technique is lightly tapping on certain meridians. I think it comes from like Chinese medicine or Eastern medicine at least. Don't quote me on the Chinese medicine part. But it's lightly tapping on certain meridians that send messages to your body that it's safe. So I think it's like vagal nerve activation and all of those little hacks that we can use to remind our body that it is safe. So jump on YouTube and just type in EFT tapping for stress or for regulation or whatever, and there's so many beautiful people out there. And how amazing is that we live in a time where these tools are free and readily available to us, So that is, I've really, really noticed the difference. If I'm just like repeating, positive affirmations, it doesn't land as much. But if I'm doing an EFT practice, even like a 5-minute one, and repeating those affirmations, it connects that mind and body so much more and gets me into a really regulated place. Some other things you can do in the vagal nerve activation space, which is shifting from stress to calm. So when our vagus nerve is activated, it's shifting us from that sympathetic nervous system state, which is the fight or flight, back into our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest. So it's like a nervous system reset. You can actually do that through like humming, singing, and chanting as well. So pick your poison with that. Pop your favorite song on, scream it from the rooftops, just some gentle humming while you're washing the dishes, or chanting if you're into mantras or all of that stuff. So again, take what resonates and leave the rest with that, and do your own research in that area if that feels like something that would resonate with you. And yeah, I think the last thing I want to mention, a last tip, is if you're dysregulated but you're not so much in that state of uncertainty, if you actually have some clarity and some drive to make changes or take particular steps in a direction, like you're wanting to put yourself out there or have a tough conversation, etc., the process of titration is very important. So we're taking, rather than seeing the task ahead of us as like the biggest thing ever, and this is a reminder for me, because I woke up this morning and was like, oh my dear God, how do I make my business more successful, etc., etc. And it doesn't happen overnight. So this is such a reminder for me as well, is titration. We're taking small, manageable steps towards the change instead of pushing ourselves into overwhelm. So yeah, like I said, I literally didn't even have a moment to be conscious this morning before all of that fear came up. But I can regulate now and assure myself that my business is going to be more and more successful with every day because I'm taking small and manageable steps. But I think the dysregulation came from my mind jumping forward and being like, seeing too big of a picture, basically. And I've overwhelmed myself, and then I've gotten into this dysregulated state. There was tears and there was snot and there was everything. But it's part of the journey. If you're someone like me that is very very focused and very driven by their own evolution and the freedom to express themselves and not accept a half-life and, just live the life of their wildest dreams, we're basically always going to be in this place that can potentially dysregulate us, So and also one point, the last point I want to make before I finish up is that the success and the evolution that you're looking for won't be sustained if you're not regulating your nervous system. So, like I said, if you're committed to your evolution, it will put you into states of dysregulation because you're changing. It's not something to criticize yourself about or stress about. You haven't done anything wrong. It's just a sign that, oh shit, you've really leveled up. You've really committed to that next evolution, which is, in my example, like launching my next course. So yeah, it will come up. The dysregulation will come up. It's not about avoiding being dysregulated, because if you're avoiding being dysregulated, then you're staying in your comfort zone. Does that make sense? So committing to your evolution, navigating change will be paired with nervous system dysregulation, but you need to get in the driver's seat and take accountability for that dysregulation, stop feeling like a victim, and do the damn thing. Take whatever tips I've mentioned in this episode and leave the rest, whichever ones resonate. Try them all, try some, try one. Like I said, it might not be the right one straight away, but it's about committing to expanding the tools that are available to you and adding another one to your belt, another one to your belt. Like I mentioned, the EFT tapping is new for me and I'm really liking it. So I'm like, sweet, that's another little tool that's going to be in my belt. So yeah, and then like I said, it's not just about getting out of the dysregulated state, but to achieve a more like a sustainable level of success and not make the evolution process so uncomfortable. We need to regulate our nervous system, because our nervous system is the direct proportion between what we can hold, like our capacity to our inner capacity and our outer capacity. So that's the note I'll leave you guys on. It's not just about staying out of the discomfort. We need to regulate our nervous systems to keep calling in all the good stuff, to keep calling in the money and the opportunities and the ideas and the inspiration and our intuition. If we're in a dysregulated state, our intuition, we cannot hear it because we're like, where's the threat? Where's the threat? Where's the threat? And your intuition's like, sis, chill out. I'm trying to give you the next step. But you're like, I can't right now. So yes, if that's, and you know, there's not enough reasons. There's so many reasons out there to regulate your nervous system, and it becomes incredibly apparent when you are in a season of the unknown or navigating major life changes, in those big seasons of transition. That is when it becomes painfully known that you need to regulate your nervous system, and no one's going to do that but you. So yeah, get into it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Jump on the waitlist for the Courage to Change course if you resonated with everything in this episode, because this plus so much more will be available in the course when it launches. And the waitlist is the best place to stay up to date with it and get the discounts, etc. And yeah, I'll see you on the next step. Hey, beautiful soul. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Oasis State podcast. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend. It means the world to me knowing that everyone who needs this medicine and magic can lovingly receive it. Also, I'd love to hear from you, so feel free to reach out via social media, my website, or email. Can't wait to connect, and until then, sending you heaps of love.